And this Sunday, Israel's army said it aims to evacuate all Israelis living close to the Gaza Strip within 24 hours as it deployed tens of thousands of soldiers to fight Palestinian militants. At the same time, more Palestinian fighters have entered southern Israel. For more, we can speak to Chatham House's Yossi Mekelberg. He's an associate fellow at the Institute's Middle East and North Africa program. Thank you for speaking to France 24. First question, just where do you think this is all headed?
Thank you for having me. It doesn't go in the right direction, unfortunately, and we are going to see days, if not weeks, of very difficult war with bloodshed, many victims on the way. We definitely have seen in the last 30 hours one of the darkest days in Israel history of this conflict. And right now, I think we'll see more of that because I think there is no reason not to believe to Prime Minister Netanyahu that they're going to ensure a long and difficult war, and they will be after Hamas. The problem is also with this that many innocent people will pay with their lives.
As you're speaking to us, we're getting reports that Israeli media saying the death toll from the Hamas attacks has now risen to 350 dead. Netanyahu's government and the intelligence officials roundly criticized for the security failure. How much confidence should they have as it presses forwards with these operations?
Well, there is no doubt this, 50 years after the biggest fiascos in the Israeli intelligence history, 1973, just another one happened yesterday. I think it's both a perceptual and an operational one, not understanding the motivation of Hamas, underestimating its capability, being again falling hostage to their own perception of Hamas, and the result.
Yossi, can I interrupt you there? Can you just elaborate on us on what you think the motivation for Hamas is?
Well, I think, and it's time will tell if I'm right about it. I think, so to speak, they overachieved there. They probably didn't expect that it's going to be so easy for them, and they probably caused more harm than they wanted to or assumed they would be able to do. And now they will have to face the consequences of that. The idea that they will face very little resistance either on the border, and they will be able to coordinate such a military operation, land, sea, and air with very little resistance, and manage to kill so many Israelis when they supposed to face a much superior military force. It's probably they didn't believe it possible. Now that it's happened, the retaliation will be accordingly by Israel. At the same time, Israel felt this perception or misperception that Hamas was not interested anymore in the armed struggle because economic conditions are improving, because more Palestinians are allowed to work in Israel, and they're underestimated. There is a bigger issue for Hamas.
For the Israelis that have been taken hostage and possibly taken back into Gaza, what options does the Israeli government have to try and rescue them?
I think it's a watershed for Israel approach towards hostage taking. Of course, our hearts go to this, those who were killed, injured, and those who are taken hostage. This is a very scary situation for them, and we would like to see all of them coming back home, safely and healthy. But at the same time, Hamas understand that this is one of the soft spots when it comes to Israel. There is sensitivity to hostage taking for many years, and Israel for decades was ready to pay heavy price to release its prisoners of war, even civilians. Now there is a huge dilemma. Is it going to do it now again? And maybe stop, being open to this blackmail, but is really heart-wrenching for the hostages themselves and their families.
What do you think the possibility that motivations from Hamas to carry out these attacks could spill across borders internationally. We saw this developing story out of Egypt about a local policeman shooting dead 2 Israeli tourists. We still don't know the motivation behind that attack, but it is concerning. Here in France, security has been tightened around synagogues and Jewish schools. Do you think there's any chance we could see attacks abroad?
I think it's a real possibility, and we saw it during a conflict in Gaza before, and definitely vitriolic language. That there is a real escalation in this, and yes, I think increasing security is always better safe than sorry. It's a real possibility, and what we saw in Alexandria, this is not a plan. This is what happens. That the emotions are flaring in this kind of situation, and people take the law into their hands, and this was probably what happened in Alexandria, and unfortunately it can take place in other places. This is the reason that one needs to hope, but with very, very restricted belief that the war in Gaza will be short, but I don't envisage it to be. I think Israel will try to assert itself because it was badly injured in what happened yesterday. It will try to reestablish deterrence, and I'm not surprised if, unlike the past, the target will be to eliminate as many, not only from the military wing of Hamas, but also the political wing.
Right.
The one thing I think to remember in this situation, I hope the Israel government will take it into account. The upset and the anger, completely understandable, but they need to think also on the long term that both people are doomed to live together and better in peace than in war.
Yossi, thank you very much for your time. Yossi Mekelberg from Chatham House.